So, 10 episodes. I didn't entirely know what I was doing when I started this, and I'm not entirely sure that I know what I'm doing now. But somewhere along the way, something genuinely interesting happened. I set out to talk to people from the Belfast music scene about their past, their present, and their future. What I didn't expect was that across those 10 very different conversations, the same questions kept surfacing. Not because I asked them the same way every time, but because they're the questions that are alive on the scene right now. I want to talk about three of them. The first one is about confidence, or more accurately, the lack of it. Time and again, I sat across from people who I have watched command a stage, hold a room, make music that genuinely moves people. Those same people told me that they were terrified. Not were, are. What struck me wasn't that musicians get nervous. Everybody knows that. What struck me was how many of them described performing as a kind of necessary deception, getting up there and doing it anyway, while something inside them is going, "Who do you think you are?" And yet, when I pushed back and said, "Look, I filmed you, I've watched you, nobody in that room could tell," the answer was almost always the same. That's the point. You use it. The fear is the fuel. I find that genuinely extraordinary. And I think it's something worth saying out loud, because if you're sitting at home wondering whether you're good enough to get up on a stage, the people already up on those stages are wondering the exact same things. The second thread is about ethics, and it came from everywhere. I didn't plan to make this a series about how you treat people, but it turned out that a lot of that's what it was about. How you treat the bands you put on, how you treat the sound engineer at the end of the night, how you treat the women in the crowd, how you treat the younger musicians that are just starting out and need someone to open a door rather than to guard it. What I heard over and over was that the people doing this well, the promoters, the musicians, the photographers, the people behind the scenes, they'd all arrived at the same place from completely different directions. That the scene only works if you treat it like a community rather than a competition. There's enough room for everyone, that the rising tide thing is actually real. But I also heard the other side of it, the microaggressions that add up slowly, the entitlement that creeps in, the attitudes that make certain people feel like the scene isn't for them. And that conversation needs to keep happening, not just in episodes of a podcast, but in the actual rooms where music gets made and performed and heard. The third thread is the one with the most tension in it: local versus leaving. Almost everyone I spoke to on this season touched on this question, usually without me directly asking it. Can you build a career here? Is there a ceiling? Do you have to leave to make it? The honest answer, and I heard this from people at very different stages in their career, is that it depends entirely what you mean by making it. Some people are playing for the love of it, and that's the whole story, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some people have very specific ambitions and have worked out, sometimes the hard way, that the infrastructure here doesn't fully support those ambitions, at least not yet. The managers, the labels, the booking agents, the pathways from a voodoo session slot to something bigger, it exists in patches. It doesn't exist as a system. And yet the talent is here. It's absolutely here. The venues are here. The community is here. The work ethics, the ethics full stop, it's all here. What I kept hearing was not despair about that gap, but something more like stubborn determination to keep going anyway, to build a thing from the inside out rather than wait for someone else to do it for them. That, more than anything else, is what I'll take from this season. Before I go, I want to say thank you. to every guest who gave me their time, their honesty, and in several cases, their trust. These conversations were generous in ways I didn't always deserve, and I'm grateful for every one of them. To everyone who's watched, listened, shared, subscribed, followed, or just told someone about this, it means more than I can say, and considerably more than I expected when I started. And to the Belfast music scene itself for letting a middle-aged beardy guy with a camera and a podcast hang around for long enough to start understanding what is actually happening here and what's going on. Season 2 is already in motion. I've been working on a guest list and I think you're going to enjoy it. The aim is simple, more of the scene you haven't heard from yet. I am also looking for a sponsor for Season 2, so if you're interested, please get in touch. Until then, this has been another Handcrafted episode, and I will see you at the next gig. Thank you very much, and good night.